Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Marian White, and with me is my co-host for the last 30 or 50 years. I can never quite get it straight, but Ken Bialo. Nice to see you, Ken.
Nice to see you, Marian. Very nice to see you.
And Ken,
it's exceedingly nice to see
we are here to hear about your wisdom about the Larchmont village government.
Wisdom?
Because you ran it, and you also were a trustee on the board, so you know a great deal, and some of the stuff that's coming up now was certainly stuff that you encountered. And handled terrifically, I might add.
And you were a trustee on the board as well.
Yes.
So you can't blame it all on me. Don't blame the budget on me.
Well, at least there were two parties at the time.
Yes.
So that there was a rigorous discussion
Yes.
about what was the best way to go, and people not always agreeing, people
Yes.
disagreeing.
Yes.
Disagreeing can be wonderful for outcomes, I think.
Yes. Leads to better outcomes, generally speaking.
Yes. So.
However inconvenient and time-consuming it is.
And I mean, you were just telling me before that not trustees, what is it in the county?
County legislators.
And there are 17 of them?
Yes.
And they were elected?
Yes.
But, I mean, what was the ratio when they were elected?
I think it was 12-5.
Okay.
12 Democrat, 5 Republican.
And after the election,
Yes.
you say it's now 17 Democrats?
As I understand it, yes.
Because 5 Republicans weren't having much fun, I guess.
Well,
Would
they
that
might
be the way
have,
to look at it?
One changed party with a great deal of fanfare.
Okay.
The others may have retired or been talked into retiring or offered other spots in the county government that were more attractive than the Monday night meetings in the county center. So I do not actually know what happened to all of them, but I do know that the fellow from Eastchester just made a big fuss about signing up as a Democrat and renouncing his Republican affiliation.
Well, I certainly don't think that's very good for the county when you have, I mean, I assume then 17 people pretty much tend to agree. There's some discussion, of course, but no one's trying to think outside the box, I would guess.
Well, I think that's right, and it's more akin to taking your orders from a commissar than it is to bringing independent thinking and fact-finding to the table. And I think we're seeing that, I personally believe, we're seeing that in Albany.
Yes.
And we're seeing it in the county. And we're seeing it in many of the towns and villages along the Sound Shore where the entire board or group that is responsible for running the municipality is Democrat. And we're seeing it in the House of Representatives in Washington. Things go awry when there isn't a viable minority. And for that matter, things can change a lot. People make mistakes. They get sick and dopey with power and make mistakes, and things can change. And, I don't know whether people are paying attention to that or not, but certainly the environment down here in the south part of this great county of ours, which was heavily Republican 50 years ago, is now 2-to-1 Democrat or something like that in terms of registration. That doesn't mean, and that doesn't mean that everybody who is a Democrat votes Democrat or everybody who's a Republican votes Republican.
Right.
It's a way of judging relative strength. It's the size of mailing lists. It's how many people get to see a particular piece of literature as
Right.
opposed to another piece of literature. So it has a significance, has a practical effect. It doesn't predict anything, but it has practical effect in the way things
I'm just
work.
sorry that
Yeah.
17 either way would be bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, something that's not controversial is talking about the Sound Shore St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Yes.
Which is Sunday, March 22nd.
Yes.
Everyone can agree that's wonderful.
Yes.
It's on Mamaroneck Avenue.
Yes.
It begins about 1 or 1:30, but I'm sure it will be in the newspapers.
12.
And
12.
also
12.
12, okay. And the best part is leading the parade is the Grand Marshal, Kate Bialo.
Yes, that is the best part.
And I saw her receive her sash.
Yes.
And that was very handsome. And you got a sash.
Yes.
Now, did yours say aid?
Yes.
That's so nice that they had.
Mine said, disregard this sash.
Anyway, it was a very nice event when the group had their annual fundraiser to raise money for scholarships. And it was a lot of fun.
It was fun. And they used the money for scholarships for kids going to college, and they used the money to finance the cost of having the parade, which, in my view, is pretty well attended. I mean, I've walked in it a couple of times. It's pretty well attended. It's after you get past the railroad bridge. When you come down underneath the railroad bridge, there are a lot of people between there and.
So where does it start?
It starts up near Marian School.
Oh, okay.
Comes down the avenue, and then you have to go under the railroad bridge. You turn a little bit left, and you go under the railroad bridge.
Oh, and that's where it really,
there's a
lot
lot
of
people,
energy there.
Yeah, a lot of energy. Yeah. So hopefully everybody will
And
come
some
out.
beers, I assume.
Not in the street. On March 22nd, hopefully everybody come out in the neighborhood at 1 o'clock. We'll have more details as we get there. But
Yes, we will have more information next month.
it's going to be
How's
a great
that?
parade. It's going to have bagpipes and fire trucks and fire engines, and I hope it has Cub Scouts. Ooh, I don't know if Cub Scouts will last that long. Girl
I
Scouts.
thought it was Boy Scouts that were filing
Yeah,
for bankruptcy.
yes, that's right.
But I
Yeah,
guess
but
Cub Scouts are part of them.
Well, that's my sense of it. Anyway,
Yes.
so and lots of community groups will be marching, and it's going to be a great time. And
Yes.
you're Irish that day. It doesn't matter.
Everyone
if you're
is
not
Irish.
Yes.
Well, that's really nice. Now this is sad. The Larchmont Historical Society is desperate for funding and working to sign up 500 new members by May. The Historical Society could shut down within a year if it doesn't receive an infusion of funds. With involvement at all-time low after years of decline, and of course that's true of all volunteer groups.
Yes.
Officers and the Board of Trustees said they are pushing to get 500 new members by May. So they sent a letter to the community, but I didn't receive one.
But you can sign up anyway.
Yes, so I'm sure they have a website and I can go and become a member.
Yes. We are members, and we support the Historical Society. It has, I think it's located here on the 3rd floor in the town center. Or at least
Something like that. It has a home finally, which is wonderful.
Yeah, it used to be here. I think it was here. Anyway, it's the corporate memory, if you will. There's a memory of what it was like in the 1880s and in the 1900s, the 1920s, the 1950s, the 1970s, the 1990s. And I think it's important that you have a perspective on everything. And I wish they had some of these kids, some of the little kids from the elementary school, go and do reports.
Oh,
using
yes,
the
wouldn't that be fun?
Historical Society facilities to get a sense of where they are. It's, this is a big continuum. I think it's a
Right.
continuum, or
Right.
it continues until you stop continuing. Right? It's a continuum. And it's good to know which little spot you're on.
Right. Right. No, history's very important.
Yeah, it is. It tells you a lot about
So-
where and why. We'll talk a little bit about that later.
That's true. So then one thing, well, that's alarming, but hopefully 499 other new
Yes.
people will become members, and
Well,
that will
hopefully,
be okay.
hearing you talk about it, they will run out and say immediately, sign me up. I'm willing to work, and I'm willing to donate.
Now, something that isn't so positive is that there's been a rash of bicycle thefts and car break-ins in the new year in the village of Larchmont. In the first 10 days of 2020, 6 high-end bikes and 1 vehicle were reported stolen in the village, prompting local police to embark an unusual step for the small department, create a plainclothes detail to watch and wait. And they did actually find one person who, it turns out, had been arrested 2 weeks earlier for stealing a car. So I don't know how he was out again to be arrested again.
Because there's no bail anymore.
Oh, you mean we
There's
have
a
that
reform
too?
after January 1st. Yeah, everybody has it. Everybody in the state has it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he can just keep doing this.
Well, hopefully
Well.
getting caught is unpleasant enough. Keep him from doing
Twice.
it again. Yeah,
We'll see.
twice.
Then I told you from the planning board, I received a notice dated January 8th, and it has 6 items that it's talking about. And 2 of the 6 are for the homeowner to demolish an existing house and rebuild a new single-family house, which, I mean, we're seeing that all over. I was just astonished that it would be 2 out of 6. That's really ramping it up. So I find that distressful in that they're probably going beyond the footprint of the original house. That would be a sure
Right.
thing, you'd think. So they have a right to.
Yes. Well, they have a right to go up to the point where they no longer have a right and the zoning code takes
Right,
over.
right.
But then they have the right to go to the zoning board of appeals and say, I need another foot here, I need another 3 feet here, I need 2 feet over there, and before you know it, you don't have
It's
a zoning
huge.
code. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but we're not saying that's the case with these
Right.
particular
Well,
homes.
we
We
don't
have no
know, but
idea.
it's just, I've been seeing what's been going on in the house, being down and then up within 3 months, it seems like. So it really is a trend. So that leads us to the topics that get us going, especially you.
Well, I think that you have raised the topic that actually gets us going, which is the property here is valuable in the sense that there's a school district that has a good reputation and turns a lot of kids out that go to good colleges. And there's a certain pleasantness about living here. It has its own little cachet. Whether it's Larchmont or it's the town of Mamaroneck or it's the village of Mamaroneck, all 3 municipalities in one way or another are tied to each other.
Well, and generally people are friendly.
I think generally that's so. And the rail service is, there is rail service.
Right.
It's, I don't want to say these real estate brokers are going to hate me for saying this, but I ride the train every day. It's intermittent. It's never on time. Never. No matter what they...
Except that 7:08 is on time in the morning. That is a killer. Why couldn't that be late?
I don't know. They have these reports that say if we're within 5 minutes of the scheduled time, we're on time. And I guess my response to that is, no, you're on time when you're on time. But it's not just on time. It's particular. I'm on this email service that they have when they're having trouble. They send you emails, but they send everybody. I don't know. They send me all 3 lines: the Hudson Division, the New Haven Division, and the Central Division.
So you get them often.
Oh my God! At the end of the day, you might have 25 emails. This train is 20 minutes late because of that, and that train's 20 minutes late because of this, and somebody else, the train was late because of this. And it's, go to Grand Central, expect to wait 45 minutes. It is mind-boggling. So, as I say,
But helpful.
we are near railroads, yes.
Yes.
That's helpful. There's a theoretical railroad.
And of course, major travel for cars and things, transportation is
Well, I don't know if you call 95 major travel. It's major.
Well, maybe
it's a
slow
place
travel.
to be. Yes, it's a place to be. If you're in your car,
It
there's
gets
a
you
place
places.
to be. Yeah, it could get you places. It just takes a while. But in any event, I have a feeling that the real estate people think that property values around here are headed upwards. And the reason is a good school system, a pleasant place to live, and closeness to the city through the intermittent, I'm going to call it, train service. And also you can get in your car at 10 o'clock at night. If you really want to go to the city, you don't go at regular hours. You go in off hours, and it takes 20 minutes to get there. So The location is everything in real estate, location, 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 right? So we have
Well,
two.
we're here, so I guess we like something about it.
Well, we do. Well, we've been here a long time.
Yes.
Things have changed a lot, and the people who are buying now, the young people who are buying now, are vastly different and way better off financially, I believe, than we were when we moved here. But there are two projects that are under discussion. There's a third one floating around somewhere. Right now it's in the ether. But you can imagine that there's pressure. There's real estate pressure. Find a deal, make a deal, assemble a plot, try and make some money out of this. Hampshire Country Club, I don't know, what is it, 60 homes or 50 homes or whatever it is that they want to put in that soup bowl, right?
Oh, right, and all the New Rochelle building that's going on.
And New Rochelle, they're building 40-story towers,
Right.
which is, I don't know whether they're the ones that are built are occupied or to what extent they're occupied. It seems to me they're anticipating a gigantic move to apartment buildings, which is kind of not what suburbs are known for. But I don't know.
Right.
Maybe these guys and gals have some other ideas. There are two related to Larchmont right now, and Better Larchmont, which is available at betterlarchmont.org, is a good place to keep track of what is happening in these two sets of activities. One is something called Centro, which is a proposal for depends on how you count it, 4 or 5, I'm not sure, story apartment building between the Larchmont Tavern and the corner store, right on Chatsworth Avenue. And it was originally planned for, I think it was 26 units. I think it's now, or 28 units, something like that. It's down to, the builder says he's giving up his garage in the back, blah, 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 down to 14. But they haven't presented a real environmental document. There's something called EAF1, which is supposed to be true and accurate. And it was signed by the lawyers, but it wasn't true and accurate. There are mistakes all over the damn place.
Yes, you were able to point that out.
Yeah, I did point that out. And they wanted a zoning code exception that allowed them to go up as high as 5 stories and, I don't know, I forgot, I'd calculated, 180,000 square feet, including the garages and stuff. Just a monstrosity. An awful, awful, abominable. What's worse than abominable? Awful.
I'll work on that for next show.
Monstrosity with a zoning code amendment and a monstrosity for a building.
And a really busy street on one side.
And
a tiny little street,
Yes.
one-way street on the
That
back.
was going to have all the parking lots. And it was awful. And it wasn't done properly. And the traffic study person who was engaged by the village said it wasn't safe. And it wasn't done properly. And it wasn't, the corners weren't all taken into account. It was, he didn't say this, the person who signed this didn't say this, but I'm saying it. It was just a piece of junk. It was a piece of puff that, a developer will put in front of everybody who'll buy it, because the easier it is for the developer to do it, the more money he makes and the less hassle and so on and so on. Well, that's been cut back. But there is on the 25th, Tuesday the 25th.
February 25th.
Yes, Tuesday the 25th
Okay,
of February.
thank you.
At the Village Center, there's going to be a meeting where the village board is going to consider the newly revised proposed amended zoning code, amended, I suspect, in large measure by the developer, proposed, and consider that. They're going to consider, they have the possibility of considering whether there's an environmental issue that needs more study and more work. I think since they don't have a decent environmental statement, there's no point in even having that. They first ought to get an environmental statement. But the builder says, not giving you any plans.
What?
I'm not giving you any environmental stuff. You have to tell me you want this, and then I'll see what I'll do. Don't worry, I'll fix all the problems. Whoa, that sounds so great, doesn't it? Don't worry, I'll fix all the problems.
Well, because you didn't
Trust
even
me.
you didn't even mention the water problems.
The stormwater problems, above ground, below ground, it's a mess back there. It is a mess. But the biggest thing that we are interested in, and when I say we, I include myself in Better Larchmont. Remember, betterlarchmont.org. first page tells you what's going on, and there are other articles behind it. The biggest thing that bothers me is there's no plan. It's a whole 3 blocks in one direction and 2 blocks in the other direction. So like 5 blocks, and there is no plan for doing this. They have no idea what the next application is going to be. And that is what is making me, a little aggravated. Get a plan in place so that everybody
covers
knows.
the business district,
Everybody
right?
knows. It's just for the business district. 3 blocks this way, 2 blocks that way. Get a plan in place so everybody knows, and it should be with everybody's input. It shouldn't be the village board acting behind the scenes as though it's at war with the people who live here. It's not supposed to be at war. It's supposed to represent the consensus, and they're not doing that. They haven't asked for a plan. The right way to do this is you put a plan in first, and then you say, does this fit the plan? Not put the building in there and say, okay, now we're done. Because the next person comes along and says, hey, I want that same thing.
Right.
And I want this same thing, and I want that same thing. And all of a sudden, you have, like you do in New Rochelle, 3 or 4 or 5 40-floor towers, or 10 40-floor towers. So people come in and say, hell, in my backyard, I'd like to put up, something that's 20 by 20 and goes to the sky, 2,000 feet tall. I want the tallest building in the world.
Oh, my.
I mean, it's just nutty. So they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan. And this comes in a second. This comes up with respect to BLD. I'm going to talk about that in a second. They don't have the environmental documents. They don't have a plan. They don't even know what they're doing with this new zoning code, which came off of the old zoning code, which was attached to the building, and now the building has changed, and now they changed the zoning code. It's like a circle. It goes, let's keep going around in circles until we land somewhere. It is in trouble. Go to BLD. Go to BLD. Go to betterlarchmont.org to find out about to find out about Centro. Now we have another thing, and this comes in the town. This is not in the village.
We're all
Can we have
very
number
connected.
3 on the screen there, fellas and ladies? Not too many people know.
Nice colors.
That is, it's excellent coloring. I stayed within the lines. It's very
Yes.
nice. The blue is the Premium River. The area that's open around the blue there is the Premium River Marsh Complex, which is a critical environmental area. It is a critical environmental area. The yellow-greeny sort of area is where the owner of the diner would like to put, now can we put up number 1? He would like to put this. This is right next to a critical environmental area. He wants to put a 100, what is 99? 100 unit building. 100 unit, right on the middle of the post road. There isn't another tall building around this. They're all low-slung, single
Is that
floor.
the post road?
Well, doesn't that look like the post road? Who recognizes that as the post road?
It looks like a
That
old
road
country
there.
street.
Yes, it's a good old country street right there. Except that's not what the post road looks like.
No, it isn't.
No, it isn't.
It's got
And
cars speeding along.
Yes, many cars and many trucks.
Yeah.
And high traffic. And this 100-unit building is theoretically produces 125 or 150 more cars. It's right across the street from Pine Ridge. Right? So we have safety problems. We have traffic problems. We're back on a critical environmental area. We have a massive 100-unit proposition. I think I need 2 now. Oh, no, I don't need 2. You don't have this. Could you go back to 1, please? 100 units. And they write a Dean Place on one side. On the left side there is Dean Place, which is a residential area. Up on the upper right side there is Locust Terrace. And behind that, off the right, is Locust Terrace. And behind that is Pryor Road. And they want to stick this is like it came in on a spaceship, like prefab. And the spaceship is looking for a place to drop something. It says, where is the least likely place that I should drop this?
But the owner happens
Flashing lights,
to own the properties.
Flashing lights. Oh, why don't we drop it in a residential neighborhood where there isn't another building that's more than 1 story tall, right? And right next to a critical environmental area. What is a critical environmental area? Critical environmental area means that you have to do a full environmental impact statement before you get permission to build, which is a big deal. It's years of work. It's years. I don't know how they think they're going to do it. Can we go back to number 3 for a second? We have a crack system here. There we go. The blue is the river, and that little greeny yellowy area up there is where they want to put this building. And there's houses, as you can see, along the right, and there are houses. You can barely see that road there, Locust Terrace on the left, and Prior Manor Road, and all of that is place where you and I worked in 1992, picking up tires and other stuff out of the marsh to help clean it up. Remember, we got had those big plastic bags, put all this junk in those big plastic bags.
Every now and then,
leave it out.
someone would come and pick up the bags.
Yeah, somebody would come and pick up the bags, and we're there, and we're taking, snapshots for campaign literature, right? Hello, right? It was great. There's 100 units. 100 units.
Well, and Palmer Avenue on the weekends, and really during the week, there's no point. You can't drive on Palmer Avenue and get
And you
any
can't drive on
place.
the post road either.
And yes, imagine what that's going to do to the post road.
Well, to the post road, safety and traffic. In addition, we have the tiny problem of redistricting of elementary schools, which is now before this committee that's looking at how do we deal with more people. Are we going to allow more people? How do we deal with it?
Right.
Because all of the elementary schools, with the exception of one, are chock-a-block. The one is a little shy, and so now they're talking about, and they've been talking about this for a year. In fact, the superintendent proposed the idea of shifting some kids from the overcrowded schools and putting them into the school that's less crowded. And I can tell you right now, that means no neighborhood school for Larchmont Village, or, which the neighborhood school is Chatsworth, for Larchmont Village. And it's also for the people in the town who live on Dean Place and who live up in Locust Terrace and down in Prior Lane and all around here. That map that we showed you is 3. It's not just Larchmont kids. It's Larchmont and Town of Mamaroneck kids who live in that area. You want to put up 3 again?
We've got about 2 minutes.
I know we got about 2 minutes, but there we go. So their houses on the right side of the picture there are all Larchmont, but in the left side of the picture, and the left side of Dean Place and Prior Manor Road, which are with small indicated roads on the left. This is a village map. This is not a town map. Those are in the town, and those children go to Chatsworth School too. Well, can you imagine what it's going to be like where you buy a piece of property, or you've lived in a piece of property for a bunch of years, and all of a sudden your kids aren't riding their bikes to school. You're going to a different school. It's the whole idea here is with 100 units, it's not going to be. They say 1 and 2 bedrooms. Well, we'll see some of them be 3 bedrooms.
Yeah,
they'll
they say
have 2
empty
bedrooms.
nesters.
Yes, empty. Yeah, of course, exactly right. That's really you run the risk of having 50. I don't know, 50, 25. I don't know what the number is. Kids, where are you going to put them? And the school system is the gem here. The school system is what attracts people. It's the water and the school system and a pleasant way of life. And this whole problem, it wraps up the notion of highly well-placed properties, and people are going to want to put in big things so that they can make a bunch of money. And if you want to hold the line, you got to be serious. For Centro, February 25th, the Village Center, come and make your feelings known about we don't want a 5-story building on Chatsworth Avenue. BLD, March 4th. It's a town meeting because that little piece of property happens to be just inside the town. So the location could be the town courtroom or it could change. Go to betterlarchmont.org to read all about this.
Well, we'll have a lot to talk about next time.
We will.
Thank you.
We certainly will.
And thank you for all the talent on the other side of the cameras. Thank you so much.
And have a wonderful evening.